Well, primarily the government wants to cut the cost of legal aid. It thinks it costs too much. And so currently there's an expenditure of about 1.1 or 1.2 billion a year in legal aid, and they want to cut that by 220 million pounds. And the way that they're going to do that is that they're going to let only a very few number of businesses in each area do this work, and they're going to open it up to tender. The proposal is that anyone can tender, and we already know that people like Eddie Stobart, G4S, Serco, Tesco's, the Co-op, people like that are looking at this as a potential way of coming into the market.
So if I was arrested for a criminal offence and I get taken down to the police station, I've read my rights and I'm told that I'm entitled to a solicitor, under the new regulations, what would happen?
Well, currently there's probably something in Bedfordshire, something like 30 practices that deal with criminal defence work. If you're arrested under the new proposals, there will only be a small handful of people allowed to do that. You'll be arrested and you'll be told who is going to represent you. And it may be that that's Eddie Stobart. It may be that that's my firm if we're lucky enough to secure a contract.
How will they decide which firm you're placed with?
There's no client choice, and this is the real problem and why many people are upset about it. There's no client choice at all. If you're arrested on a Monday, you may get First Law Partnership, my practice. If you're arrested on a Tuesday, you may get Eddie Stobart. That's one of the proposals. The other way that they may allocate it is by your birth date. So if you have a birthday of the first of a month, you'll go to one practice, the second of the month to another, and so on.
So as a professional in the legal industry, what's your biggest fear about these proposals?
My biggest worry is for client choice, because at the moment quality is governed by the marketplace. If I was a really bad lawyer and no good at my job, you wouldn't come back to me. Under the proposals, there's no client choice, so you are going to be allocated somebody. And if the person you're allocated to is not particularly good, then you're stuck with that. And of course, if people are dependent only on the price and bidding purely on price, then if somebody big like Group 4 or G4S, someone like that, gets a contract, then they're going to make sure that they only pay small amounts to lawyers. So they'll get the worst lawyers coming into their businesses. And so the person arrested is going to have poor quality of advice because it's price driven.
Would there be any potential conflict of interest? You mentioned G4S. They currently have contracts to transport prisoners to and from courts, prisons and so on. Do you think there could be any conflict of interest where perhaps they're wanting to maintain that contract, so would actually want people to lose in criminal cases?
Many people in the profession think that there is going to be a conflict of interest of some sort. Whether there is or not will be something which we'll establish later. But of course there is going to be correlation, isn't there? If you do a bad job and you're transporting people to prison, more people going to the prisons. If you're paid proportionate to the number of people you transport, then it may well be that there's a conflict. I don't know how true that is. It's not really for me to comment at this stage, but I do know that there are members of the profession, groups of criminal defence lawyers, that have banded together to seek advice from Queen's Counsel about whether or not there is a potential conflict in relation to procurement law.
And do you think that if these proposals go through, that there will be an increase in the American-style justice system where you have people plea bargaining?
Not necessarily in terms of plea bargaining, but I do think that there's a potential conflict situation between the lawyer and his client or her client, because under the proposals there's going to be one fee whether or not you plead guilty. So if you plead guilty and you've done a 20-minute hearing, you'll get the fee that you would get if you pleaded not guilty and had a 5-week trial. It's the same fee. And so if your determinant is price only, and so you're working for Eddie Stobart and you've got to look at the costs, you're going to want to get lots and lots and lots of very short cases pay the same fee rather than tying up lawyers for 5 or 6 weeks at a time on a lengthy trial. So there's potential conflict insofar as lawyers will be saying to their clients, perhaps in some cases improperly, plead guilty, that's the best thing for you. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to have a system. Mm-hmm. We are all in the criminal defence service presently, all very, very minded of our clients' rights. We're in this work because we care about our individual clients, and I'm just wondering whether the proposals will tilt that balance.